Hey guys, I'm Rhett Neumayer and you are watching The Tactical Truth. This is our first episode, and for our first episode, I thought I would talk about the gun of the year. The gun that I think you ought to consider for the environment, the new reality emerging in what is 2021. We're quarter one right now. Why a gun of the year? Well, stuff has changed, right? Things are changing rapidly. The country we live in is very different than the one we lived in even a year ago. So realities that I see changing are many. Let's just go through them. Number one, we have a fair amount of civil unrest, social unrest, however you want to call it. There's stuff going on, violent stuff, more often now, and it looks different than before. Street crime is on the rise in many mid-sized cities. We see new populations of people that are in our cities now because, well, we are looking at more or less a diaspora, an urban diaspora. There's just a huge exodus from the cities, from the large cities, and we see our mid-size and small towns growing, and that has driven up crime rates. It has changed the face of crime, from like more street crime in some of these areas, but also just social unrest, protests, and whatnot. For me, it makes more sense to carry a gun. I've always carried a gun, but there are some other things that have changed that make carrying a gun different. And, well, one of those is the lockdowns, right? Many of us have found that our job now has moved entirely to the home. We don't have to leave the house unless we're going to the store or any of the other errands that we run. And for many of us, that leaves us dressing more frumpy, more comfy than ever. I'll show off my COVID sweats proudly in this context. And so with us changing our dress, for many of us, that means putting on the jeans and the gun belt and the full-size gun is something that just isn't happening as much anymore. Talk about that more, but the dress has changed, so maybe that gun belt's not there anymore, and that leads to the enhanced desirability of a different kind of gun. Other things that may have changed, well, the look, the acceptability of self-defense is changing. The optics behind self-defense is changing. There have been some cases in the news recently that are what would be considered very clear-cut cases of self-defense that are being challenged now as not self-defense because of the optics of the situation. So is that entirely based on what guns are being used or what tools are being used for defense? No, but there is something to that. There's something to that. So having the more optics-friendly plays is important now for self-defense. It just is. We can, you can tell me that you think differently, and well, I tend to agree with those who would say that the change is not for the better, but the change exists. We must adapt. So the gun of the year, the 2021 special, is going to reflect those issues. And also, on the gun side of things, well, 2021 and the end of 2020, we saw massive ammo shortages. So for those of you who are already shooters, you're not shooting the same amount anymore. If you are, you're rich and you've got connections, and you should send me some of that ammo too. For the rest of us, though, we've had to adjust our training. So the ammo shortage means that live fire is down. It means that most of us are less likely to take a class, to go to the range weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and we're less likely to do the work that it takes to maintain good shooting, habits, especially with guns that are higher recoil. It takes rounds downrange. It takes live fire frequently to maintain the ability to mitigate recoil. It's a perishable skill. If you don't keep up on it, that skill goes away. And if you can't maintain the recoil there, well, we know you're not going to be able to defend yourself as well with a gun that you can't make rapid, precise follow-up shots with. Because we know pistol game, if we have to make that terrible choice to use deadly force, we know that pistols typically require more than one shot to stop an attacker. So that is going to factor into what is a more appropriate gun to carry in 2021 in this environment where we can't train enough to keep our proficiency as high as what it used to be. So what is the gun of 2021? What is the gun of the year? Well, I'm going to say it's a category. I would say that 2021 and this new environment that we're in is more amenable, more conducive to carrying mouse guns, always guns, underwear guns. Those are all the same word for one thing. Those are the same word for small guns in small calibers. We want smaller guns because we are finding ourselves in clothing that is less conducive to concealing a full-size handgun. It's much harder to conceal a full-size handgun in sweatpants than it is in your normal daily jeans. Also, we're finding ourselves in a political climate, cultural climate that is less forgiving of carried firearms. Now, in some states, we're actually seeing an expansion of your rights to carry. But across the board, it is less acceptable, it is less tolerated to be the guy walking around open carrying a gun. I have not found a place in the US that is any more accepting or even as accepting of that as it was even a year or two ago. So we're having to hide the gun better, and that lends itself well to carrying a smaller gun. You carry a smaller gun, it's pretty straightforward, right? If it's smaller, it hides better. We can have it on us more often. And also, for those of us who are locked down and in our house more often, in those comfy clothes, it's much easier to carry, much more comfortable to carry a smaller gun in that environment. So the always gun, the mouse gun, the underwear gun, that is the gun of 2021. Now, what do I mean by that? What are the best guns? What are the best always guns, mouse guns? I'm going to share my two favorite always guns or mouse guns in the two different categories that exist. Number one on the list is this guy. This is a Ruger LCR, and it is chambered. We have an empty gun here. It is chambered in .22 long rifle. Why? Why a revolver and why in .22? .22 long rifle has its downfalls. Typically, it is a less reliable cartridge. That means it goes bang less amount of the time than just about any other ammo on the market, especially center fire ammo. What I've found is when you put .22 long rifle into a double action only revolver, the reliability is the same or greater than center fire guns. This specific gun has more than 10,000 rounds through it. The first time that I had a gun attributable failure, that means the first time that I pressed the trigger and heard a click instead of a bang because of ammo, was at 8 8,000 rounds. I was over 8,000 rounds through this gun before I saw an ammo failure. That's a big deal. Now, that addresses, I like these guns because they address the small caliber reliability issue. Why the small caliber? Well, again, we're going back to talking about ammo shortage and price gouging on ammo. In 2019, 9mm was under 20 cents a round if you were buying the right way. And today, it is very often over 70 cents per round. Nobody can afford to train on that. 22 back then was around 8 cents a round for quality 22 ammunition, which is the only 22 ammunition I would buy. It's already cheap. I will buy the quality end of that ammo. Today, quality 22 ammo can still be found for around 20 cents per round. So, is that a ludicrous price? Yes, it's a high price to pay. But we can still afford to shoot this in today's world for the same cost, or roughly the same cost, as we could afford to shoot 9mm in the 2019 environment. So basically, direct transfer of training costs, we can now train live fire as frequently as we used to. Even with that, we may not be willing to or may not be able to afford training as much as we were in 2019. We may not be putting out the money to keep that training level, to keep that live fire up. Well, another reason why I prefer this gun as my first choice for the 2021 gun of the year is this. 22 long rifle has no recoil. It barely moves in your hand when you press the trigger on this. So, for those shooters who are not going to be shooting as much, for those new shooters who are just getting into a gun and cannot afford to put the rounds downrange to learn how to control recoil, the job's done for you here. You don't have to. When again, empty gun here, when I dry fire this gun, that trigger resets every time, and I can essentially replicate all of the exercises that I would do live fire. But I can do that in the safety of my home with the cost of $0. If I combine this gun with what you see here, a grip-activated laser, you can very easily activate the laser, do your dry fire, and as long as the laser is staying where you want it to be in the target, you know that that trigger press would have put a hole in that area on the target. This setup right here gives you 95% ability dry fire training compared to what live fire would give you. So you can still train a lot on this gun, maintain your proficiency at home without firing a live shot with this style of gun. Additionally, we talk about the change in lifestyle. I've talked about carry. Well, this gun is very easy to carry on the waistband in any clothes. If you get something like a belly band, or much better than the belly band would be something like the Filster Enigma suspension system. And that will allow you to carry this gun in board shorts, in sweatpants, in slacks with a button-down tucked-in shirt. You can always carry this gun without printing at all. This gun will disappear on you with just about any outfit. I have concealed this gun while being in board shorts without a shirt on and had ready access to a great self-defense item. So there's that. Again, addressing the change in lifestyle. If we are in those sweatpants and we're not willing to put on a dedicated holster, something like a belly band or or belt holster? Well, double action only revolvers are the safest guns to carry in a pocket or jacket pocket, something like that. Now, would I recommend doing that without any holster? No, I don't. I would always recommend a holster, but you can get something like a pocket sleeve for that gun that denies access to the trigger guard. You can get something like that, and I can put this in the pocket of every pair of slacks that I own, all of the jeans that I own, and every jacket that I own. I can slide that in there and run that quick trip to the store without having to fuss with anything else. Now, that is option number one. I like that gun for all of those reasons. The training at home, the cost of live fire, the ability to keep dry fire at a high level, and that double action trigger keeping that pocket safe. That double action trigger also helps in a few other areas. If you are a new or seasoned shooter, if you master the double action only trigger on this, you have mastered every trigger on every handgun. That they only get lighter, smoother, and shorter than this gun. So while it is difficult, it's difficult in a way that allows you to train. You can dry fire this infinitely. So you can practice all you want for free on a gun like this. You also get to practice that trigger press even when you're doing live fire without the annoyance of excessive blast, concussion, and recoil. So you're learning faster on this than, from what I've seen in students, any other platform out there. It may be counterintuitive for me to recommend a long, heavy double action trigger, but when you can work that trigger without live fire and still learn all of the fundamentals needed, all of the downsides are gone. That makes this the number one choice for my 2021 gun of the year. That is the Ruger LCR 22. Now, in that category, I would also put in the Smith & Wesson 43C. That's another very lightweight 22 long rifle revolver. Both of those are 8-shot guns, so when it comes to capacity and being able to have multiple opportunities to make meaningful hits, in the revolver world, it doesn't get better. In most guns in 22 that are in this mouse gun, this always gun category, it really doesn't go much better than 10 or 11 rounds. So that is my number one pick, that Smith & Wesson 43C or the LCR in 22 long rifle. For my second pick, my follow-up pick to that, I have another Ruger product. I'm not a Ruger fanboy, but for 22s in this pocketable gun format, Ruger does very well. So what I have here is an LCP 22 long rifle. This gun is a dream to shoot. While the trigger on the LCR is difficult for many to master, this trigger is very easy to work. Now, the reason why this is number two to this, well, two reasons. This takes first place for that daily concealability. Even though these guns are roughly the same size, this gun may even be slightly smaller than this. What I found is the organic shape of a snub-nosed revolver, that curve, it hides better on the body anywhere, both in strong side, appendix carry, and even in pocket carry. This gun, the shape of this breaks up very easily in a pocket. It's much more difficult to tell that there's actually a gun there. Now, there is that, and then the other issue why I would say this is number one is, again, back to the reliability issue. This is the most reliable handgun I have ever owned in any caliber, hands down. This going more than 8,000 rounds without a failure is a feat that I've never seen in any other gun. The next best gun was in the mid 3000s before I saw a failure, and that was a duty-sized Glock. So reliability and the ease of concealment makes this number one over this option. But this is a very good option for those who are absolutely adamantly against carrying a revolver. The LCP-22 will very easily fit in a pocket. With the standard magazine, you have 10 rounds plus one. The gun comes with a manual safety. Without the manual safety on this gun, I would say this is not a good candidate for pocket carry, even with a pocket holster. But with the manual safety on there, I believe that it is a decent option. While it does not conceal as well because of the shape, it is still very doable in a jacket pocket, jeans pocket, pocket of your slacks in a dress-up environment. It's doable. This gun has many on-body carry options as well. And the biggest benefit of this, because we're still talking a gun chambered in .22 long rifle, this gun is the easiest gun, the easiest semi-auto to manipulate that I have ever found. Loading the magazine with the tool that is provided to do that is very easy. And the manipulations on this gun, being able to actually rack the slide with 2 fingers, that's very easy for folks who are, for those of you who may have arthritis in the hands or have minimal grip strength. I would say that of all the semi-auto guns, this is the best choice to be able to do all those manipulations yourself. Because if you can't do all the manipulations on your gun, I don't think that's the right gun for you. So easy to manipulate, hides and conceals very well. As far as reliability is concerned, there's a hit. .22 long rifle is less reliable, even in the premium ammunition, than most centerfire ammunition. But because there is no recoil here, for a gun in this size frame, I find it is generally as reliable as the centerfire options that are in this size frame. The size of the gun matters, because if we're talking about a centerfire gun, a 380 or a 9mm in this size format, that's punishing recoil. There's a lot of snap to those guns, and for many shooters who are not at the expert level, the recoil will induce flinching and it will induce malfunctions. You will see limp wrist failures in centerfire guns this size much more frequently than just about any other type of gun. That is addressed by going to .22 long rifle. Those problems disappear. There really is no perceptible recoil to this gun. Because of that, shooters who have any amount of grip strength can shoot this gun without worry of short stroking the slide or limp wrist failure on that slide. In my testing of this gun, I shot this with as little hand on the gun as possible, as lightly gripping the gun as possible. So something like this, just pinching it between thumb and palm. I could not induce a malfunction, left-handed, right-handed, any way that I shot it. It doesn't mean I didn't get malfunctions. I couldn't cause a malfunction in this. I found that with with good ammo, so either Blazer or CCI ammo, the failure rate on these factory everything out of the box is roughly 1 in 800 rounds, which is slightly less than what you see out of full-size auto guns. But I think it is very much in the realm of acceptable and very much in the realm of normal or better than normal for any gun, any semi-auto gun this size. That's why I will make that my second choice. Shooting both of those guns is very easy and takes minimal training. And in today's world where it's harder to find the time, it's harder to find the resources, it's harder to find the money to do that training, it's a big deal. If you like this discussion, if you want to go deeper into the mouse gun discussion, let me know. We'll do it. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is probably the one that the issue that you were concerned about the most as soon as I said 22 long rifle, and that is stopping power. Guys, there's so much there. The discussion of stopping power in handguns is such a big issue. I'll dive into it in a later episode, but for now, what I want you to know is that both this gun and this gun, I have personally tested in the FBI ballistics heavy clothing protocol. That means shooting ballistics gelatin through a simulated barrier like what you would see heavy clothing. With the right ammo selection, these guns will pass the penetration threshold there. What does that mean? Both of these guns will get projectiles deep enough always to penetrate vital organs and arterial mass in a normal human being. That means that they do get deep enough to cause immediately incapacitating wounds. It means you can stop bad guys with them. The real simple short of that is these guns with the right ammo will in fact give you wounding that will incapacitate bad guys reliably. We can have another discussion, go much more in depth on whether the enhanced wounding, the larger, deeper wound paths from other handgun calibers is getting you more rapid stops and the trade-offs there. We can do that another time, but for now, I'll say, boom, Ruger LCR and the Ruger LCP, both of those in 22, are my 1 and 2 picks for the 2021 Guns of the Year based on the world that we're living in now. If you like this, please let me know. If you want to see more of this stuff or you want to see something different, tell me what you guys want to see. We will line up content and get stuff to you. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Rhett Neumayer. This is the episode 1 of Tactical Truth. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, we have a deep content library that includes interviews with everyone from Mike Cernovich to Megan Murphy, so go check it out. If you'd like to see more, please consider supporting the show by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on all the major social media platforms, at least for now, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space chat on Telegram. See you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production has not been authorized by the Cathedral. Pay no attention to it. The following co-conspirators have been unpersoned and marked for cancellation. Please direct any appeals to our internal review board at dev/null. Please note that seppuku, while encouraged, does not guarantee absolution. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Thank you for participating in our longitudinal study of new and exciting messenger RNA gene therapy techniques. Please make a note of any abnormal growths, loss of vision, difficulty breathing, or death. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.